Edition of Reeves Point of View, where we talk about some good things based on my personal perspectives. And so I want to talk to people about don't be so quick to judge people who ride out a hurricane. Okay, so right now we've got a lot of communities that are kind of recovering from a hurricane. We're talking Hurricane Helene that just came through. And every now and then I run across those people who kind of get an attitude when it comes to when they hear about people who go through hurricanes, who ride them out. For those of you who have never experienced this, you got to think about it like this. Of all the natural disasters that we have, hurricanes is probably the only one where you see it coming. Think about it. Tornadoes, unexpectedly. They tell you it's coming, but unexpectedly. Mudslides, earthquakes, volcano eruptions. All of these natural phenomena, blizzards, whiteouts, mudslides, the vast majority of natural disasters that we experience in our various countries, we usually have no warning before they come, which is why hurricanes are such a unique anomaly. In most cases, you see a hurricane coming. I mean, you literally know the pathway, or let me rephrase that. You may not always know the exact path, but you see it when it's forming. You see it when it's building up. You see it when it's going to Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, all the way up to Cat 5. You see that monstrosity coming your way. It is coming and it is bringing the pain. So what ends up happening is that when we start hearing about it, this is one of the few natural disasters where you can prepare for it, meaning you can either ride it out or you can leave. Now, why am I saying that you should be sympathetic towards people? Because a lot of times what happens is that if you've never been through a hurricane, the notion of being in an area where they're telling you that something is going to come on land and bring about 100-mile-an-hour wind, you would think to yourself naturally, why the hell would you ride that out? And if you've never experienced it, I can understand that feeling too. I can tell you back in 1996, when I got to North Carolina for the first time, I had lived in Southwest Florida for about a good decade or so and never really experienced any hurricanes of any significance. But then when I got to North Carolina, I had two in the same year. Not only the same year, within 30 days of each other. I had Hurricane Bertha and then Hurricane Fran. I mean, all literally. So it was like Hurricane Bertha, if I remember correctly, hit in August and Fran hit in September. And I was renting a house on the beach in North Topsail Beach. And so in both instances, I didn't stay on the beach. In both instances, I went inland a little bit. I stayed at friends' places. But in both cases, they had told us it would be advisable to leave the area. For those of you who don't know, you've got to keep a couple of things in mind. First, a lot of the homes, if they're still the way that they used to be, a lot of homes are built to what we call hurricane standards. So you've got homes that are built with the intent to be able to withstand hurricanes. Not all hurricanes, but just typically your Cat 1s, maybe even your Cat 2s, your lower tier hurricanes and tropical storms. So that's the first thing. So when you know that you're in a home that has the ability or a place to withstand the storm, then it's a natural inclination that you may believe, you know what, I can ride this thing on out and keep it moving. The other part of it is because if you've gone through a storm at least once and you recognize how devastating it is, you might be inclined to haul butt if it's over a particular number. So if you know if it's coming on land as a Cat 3, you're probably not going to hang around because you've experienced a Cat 1 and Cat 2. And if a Cat 1 and Cat 2 cause issues, you probably are not hanging around. Like in my case, I think if I remember correctly, Bertha was a Cat 2, Fran was a Cat 3. And I was like, respect. Okay? The other part of this is that if you're in areas where hurricanes routinely turn, you recognize that how disruptive it is for you to constantly have to shut down things, put shutters on your windows, get food and stuff like that, and then leave the area only to be told that either one, it turned, or two, it downgraded, you come back. So you have enough near misses where you're like, it's not that serious. So I need people to understand that if you're on the outside looking in, there's a certain mentality that comes with being in an area where hurricanes come. Because most instances, the devastating hurricanes are usually once in a lifetime. Hurricane Andrew in 91, once in a lifetime. Hurricane Katrina, 2005, I think, if I may be correct. I may be wrong in the year, so people correct me if I'm wrong. That was once in a lifetime hurricane. You know, you get those once in a life hurricanes where you're like, holy crap. And then you look at life a little differently once you go through those. But I always like to stress to people who tend to have their feels about saying, oh, you people who ride these hurricanes out, y'all have a death wish. It's like, no. There is a psychology to it. Trust me. If you live in an area where there's a natural disaster, like if you live in an area where, whiteouts occurs from snowstorms, mudslides occurs, earthquakes. My cousin lived, it was funny. My cousin lived in LA for 20 years while I was living in Florida for 20 years. She couldn't relate to me being with hurricanes. I couldn't relate to her dealing with earthquakes. But guess what? We moved differently. Like tremors didn't move her. Tropical storms didn't move me. And so I want people to understand this point. When you're dealing with people who are used to dealing with natural disasters or naturally occurring weather events that can be devastating, they move very differently from those of you who are on the outside looking in, who don't really understand and appreciate what they're going through. Now, am I saying that they are always right to stay and ride it out? No. But I'm also saying that before you pass judgment and get your attitude and say, oh, these people are crazy, recognize they have been in that culture of having to deal with these storms and have dealt with these storms for a lot longer than you have. I guarantee you, if you ask someone who has been in an area like Florida, if you're like in the coast of Florida or in the Gulf Coast and so forth, or Texas, Alabama, Mississippi around that period, or even on the East Coast of North Carolina and South Carolina and Georgia, if you ask them when was the last time they had a significant hurricane, they can tell you to the date and the year and the name of the hurricane that they've experienced, because they've gone through it enough times to where they understand what they need to do when they know they need to move a little differently. In other words, where the average person who's never been through a hurricane may jump at every hurricane, and they may rightly feel they should do so, a person who's been through it, who's lived through that, may move a little differently when they can recognize, this is a storm. They say it's going to probably break apart. It's going to go across land, and then it'll come out as a tropical storm. I'll ride this thing out. So before you start popping off and acting like people are special because they're riding it out, just remember, they're used to the culture of those storms a lot more than you are. So why don't you just kind of give them some grace that maybe they know what they're talking about and how to handle a situation. All right, everyone. I want to thank you for tuning in to another edition for Reeves Point of View. As always, you can check me out on most listening platforms, and you can always hit me up at AnthonyReeves.com to follow everything that I got going on. I'm here to keep you motivated, and I'm here to share the word to hopefully make your day a little bit better and brighter. And as always, I have to end my show with my favorite question of the day. Are you ready for the Anthony Reeves experience?